Welcome to the WLAQ Community Spotlight, where we highlight the wonderful organizations and people that make the Rome community a great place to call home. Here's today's host. Today, and we are also now live on our video stream on the Facebook page for WLAQ, as well as our YouTube channel. And as you can see on the camera, and we'll introduce on the radio as well, we've got a very special guest that's joining us here out in the community today. I'm excited about the opportunity to catch up with and talk to Ryan Edwards about some basketball, which honestly, anybody that knows me, basketball is probably my favorite subject any time of year.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to continue to talk about it.
Hey, lots of fun.
So we're going to be talking about that. But first, things first, let's go ahead and introduce you to our audience, get them to know you a little bit better. But how this conversation came about is you have two brothers.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
One of them works here.
Yes, Scott, our older brother, who's actually 10 years older than me, and I love saying that because I'm the baby of the family.
Does he love hearing that?
Yeah, I don't know. So I'll be 50 in a couple months, and so Scott is actually 10 years older than I am. And
I got you.
So I'm the baby of the family, and I've heard that for years and years and years.
And you have two brothers. Scott works here, and then your other brother, well, I see him all the time because I'm a frequent customer where he works over at Chick-fil-A.
Yes, Brad has been at Chick-fil-A for several years now, and that's a good conversation starter between all the folks that I see in the community. You know, how's your brother doing?
There you go, man. Yeah. I know. I can relate to that, man, because I've always been Randy's son and Elizabeth's brother, and my wife is Tanya. Everybody knows her, so I'm Tanya's husband, that kind of thing. But we got our first comment on our Facebook Live feed. Missy Gomez has chimed in and said, "Hey, Matt. Hey, Ryan."
Oh, yeah, I know
Missy.
Missy. Absolutely, yep. Yes. Known her for my whole life. Yeah.
We got Ryan Edwards joining us, and, of course, we're at Mathis Trailers and Equipment Sales, which is located at 3420 Kingston Highway in Rome, Georgia, right across from the Rock Store. And before we launch into our subject matter here, let's talk a little bit about this event that they're having here today, man. This is a great time.
I'm going to tell you, I've tried to talk to Robert about having it every weekend. I think it would be a good community affair and get some people out here just eating hamburgers and hot dogs and hanging out.
Showing you some of the people over here that are behind us. I just flipped the camera back here to the Farm Bureau tent that is here. They have got 3 ice cream makers back there, and I was just told, I know that they have homemade ice cream, but they've got peach and I believe strawberry and vanilla, I think is what Billy told us a little bit ago. So
I was going to try to do a little bit better this weekend, start eating better, but I'm here. And so I've had 3 barbecue sandwiches and chips and some tater tots. And so, but there's always Monday.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Let's scrap that for the rest of the day for sure.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Robert really wanted us to lead in this conversation about basketball with is in your hands. So if you would, please, for Robert, let's hold this up here for the camera. This is going to be making its live debut here on camera. We've talked about it a lot, but this is what's called a winning bracket. That is something that I personally know not much about in recent years, but Robert does. He was the bracketologist elite specialist this year, right?
Right. Robert has major connections with the guys in Vegas, and so he put his bracket together that way and ended up winning the thing. And so not surprised. Not surprised.
He's a great decision maker.
Yes.
And, of course, he had UConn winning it all. And I have to say, when I put together my bracket for this year's competition, I had UConn winning it all.
Yeah.
But then I watched the SEC championship game and the way that Auburn took care of business in that game.
Right.
And then the emotional speech that Bruce Pearl gave at the end of the game in the postgame got me emotional. And I made emotional picks, and I changed a lot of things than I had originally planned.
Yeah.
And I had Auburn playing in the championship game against Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And they both got beat in the first round and were a part of those epic upsets that you always look forward to seeing, unless you've got teams in the championship games that are a part of those upsets.
Well, I'm an SEC guy, and so, I kind of favor the SEC teams, and so I was pulling for, Alabama and, and the Auburn and Kentucky as well. So
Would you have ever seen Alabama this year, the squad that they had, making a Final Four run this year? That one caught me off guard a little bit. I knew they were good,
Yeah.
but I just didn't know they had the depth that they needed to get to that level.
Yeah,
of the
they played
tournament.
well when they had to.
Yeah.
And so they come on strong there at the end. And so I think they'll be back for several years to come.
Absolutely. And as far as like the coaching carousel situation that we saw, obviously, most notably having Coach Cal going from Kentucky over to Arkansas.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I couldn't believe
it. I was surprising. I don't know what transpired to make that happen, but as far as the coaching carousel, I was looking for Oates to go to Kentucky, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. But that ended up not happening. But like you said, the coaching carousel, it's just crazy. Coaches going here, there, the money available, and so yeah. I'm interested to see how the new guy at Kentucky does.
Yeah.
So I think he'll do well.
I think he will as well. It's maybe not quite the splash hire that you expected it to be with one of these bigger names that were being referenced, but I definitely didn't think that Dan Hurley was going to leave his situation going back-to-back with an opportunity potentially for a three-peat.
Yeah.
And how he's got that machine rolling there at UConn. Didn't think that was going to happen. And then, of course, you heard Scott Drew from over at Baylor, his name come up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought it was going to be him.
Yeah.
But, again, you got a situation where he's won a championship where he's at. He has a lot of resources available to him. So why would you want to go somewhere with the pressure that you have added in Kentucky that's unlike any other place, I think, as far as that's concerned?
Yeah. So who knows?
Well, let's talk about your role in basketball, because one of the things Robert wanted us to do with this segment is to talk about Upward Basketball. So for our listeners out there that are not familiar with it, first of all, what is Upward Basketball?
So basically, Upward Basketball is a basketball league that we have at our church, Dykes Creek Baptist Church. But Upward Basketball itself has been around for probably 30 years. And it's just a Christ-centered based basketball league. And so our church, actually, we're heading into our 25th year putting on Upward Basketball at our church. Upward was started by a guy named Kaz McCaslin, and he started it at his church, like I'd mentioned years ago, and ended up just the league got too big. He had 1,000 kids playing at a basketball league at his church. And so he had trouble finding volunteers and finding coaches to help with his basketball league at his church. And so one guy actually come to him and said, Kaz, why don't you start this ministry in churches everywhere across America and across the world? So Kaz wrote the handbook. And so churches are able to have Upward Basketball in their own church, in their own community. And so several churches, I'm not sure how many churches put on Upward Basketball, but there's a ton of churches.
That's awesome. And so in your mind, what makes basketball such a great vehicle for that specific part of a ministry and reaching young people and all those sorts of things, and what that teaches them and kind of helps with that process?
So basketball, Upward Basketball is an outreach arm of the church. And so versus us going out into the communities, spreading the gospel, families come to us. And so they not only get to play basketball, but they also get to hear us spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so it's an outreach arm of our church.
Well, as far as, putting on the league and all that sort of stuff, I know that you spearhead this thing, but tell us about some of the other people that get involved. Somebody was telling me one day that some of the model basketball players will come over and help out, those sorts of things.
So 25 years ago, we started Upward at Dykes Creek. And actually, you had mentioned Brad earlier, my brother. Brad was actually the first director of Upward Basketball at Dykes Creek, and he headed that up for probably 10 or 15 years. He was actually the one that helped get it off the ground. And so he when you mention Upward Basketball at Dykes Creek, you can't go without mentioning Brad Edwards, because he really helped get it off the ground and make it to what it really is today. And as far as the model basketball players, for the past several years, Jacob Travis has sent over his basketball varsity team and JV, and they have volunteered and refereed every single game. And so that's kind of how Jacob gets his players involved in the community with allowing them to help us referee. And so that's a big deal because a lot of younger kids see the model high school varsity boys come in, and, you got kids, players 6'3" to 6'9", and they're reffing kids that are, they're kindergartners, and so they get excited as well.
And I'm sure that some of these kids probably go to the model games, and everybody knows what kind of success they've had over the last few years. And so these kids are out there, and they look up, and they're on the floor, and there were these guys that are their heroes.
Yes.
And they're out there in the community and doing good things and really strong character guys.
Yeah.
And you can only imagine how much influence that carries moving forward in life.
And also, I can't tell you how many model varsity boys and girls basketball players come through and played upward basketball at Dykes Creek Baptist Church and ended up playing varsity at model. And so, I think one of the reasons upward has done so well at our church is because it's a basketball community here. We love our basketball. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we have been so successful is because our church and our community has embraced our basketball league. And so not only does it take volunteers from our church, but also outside our community, and we kind of all make it work. And
that gives us an opportunity to talk about another aspect that we probably need to touch on. But if people are listening to this and they're interested and they've never taken part in this, whether it's they've got a kid that maybe they'd like to get on a team, or if they'd like to volunteer and have some sort of a role, like how would they get in touch and what does that look like?
Well, actually, you can go on our church website, which is dykescreekrome.com, and we have a link there where it'll tell you all about upward basketball. And we start sign-ups around October and start forming our leagues around November. And then we kick things off with practice right before Christmas. And we play eight basketball games back to back to back, and we finish up around March. And so they can go on our church website, and we'll be starting getting things rolling again with our 25th year.
It'll be here before you know it, before you know it.
Absolutely.
We got Ryan Edwards joining us here and talking about upward basketball. We'll remind you where we're at for folks that are listening on the radio, or if you're watching our live feed on the Facebook page or YouTube channel. We're at Mathis Trailers and Equipment Sales, where they're having their 10th anniversary open house, which is a very special event. We're going to be winding down the broadcast coming up in about 10 minutes. But that doesn't mean the event is over, because they're going to be here for a while. You can come in and have some lunch, and they've got some homemade ice cream, a lot of fun things that are going on.
I could use another hamburger. I only had two.
I hear you, man. Yeah. I'm going to have to get back over there and catch up with you a little bit, man, because I'm running behind. But, if you're in the market for a lawnmower or a tractor or a trailer or a club car or any of the implements, whatever you need, they've got it, and they've got special pricing here for this event. So you need to go ahead and act quick, because from what I understand, even though they have great prices all the time, it's pretty hard to beat what they got going on here today. But again, we got Ryan Edwards with us talking about Upward basketball. We got a couple more comments here. Missy chimed in again and said, "I love Upward. It's such a great program. Both of my grandsons played at First Baptist Lindale." And she said, "Way to go, Brad Edwards." And then our friend Monica from Cecil Tees on Broad Street, she said, "I'm sorry I didn't make it by this morning." She was potentially going to come out and chat with us.
Right.
We'll get her out here. But, hey, Monica, thank you for tuning in to the broadcast. But anything else you'd like to add before we wind down this particular segment?
I just appreciate you being out here in our community. You guys are everywhere, and I appreciate you guys doing what you do. And I'm thankful that you asked me to be on here today.
I appreciate you saying that, man. And again, you gave me an opportunity to talk about something that I sorely miss, and that is basketball season. I know the NBA's going on. It's playoff time and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's hard to beat the college game, the high school game, and then it's great to get to talk about the kids. And
well, if you've got time next year, I could use an extra coach.
Oh, my goodness. that could be a disaster. I'll go ahead and tell you that. But I definitely would like to come out and watch what y'all do and all that kind of stuff.
It'd be a lot of fun,
And see the positive environment that y'all are creating for the
kids. Super positive environment. You don't see – I've been to several – you have too, and the fans can get out of hand, and the players can get out of hand, and coaches can get out of hand. You know, it's all positive. Everything's positive, and so that's another thing that we love about upper basketball is every child's a winner, and so it's super positive.
That's good. That's a great introduction in getting to the great sport of basketball and all those kind of things. And it sounds like you've got some wonderful people helping you out doing this.
Absolutely.
And you're doing a great job leading. So, well, thank you again, Ryan. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
Enjoyed it.
Great.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. And go have you another hamburger there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there's always Monday.
There you go. There's always Monday. No question about that. Well, we got to take another break, so we're going to send it back to the studio for a couple of minutes, and then I'm hoping that we can round up Robert one more time and kind of wind this thing down, because our radio broadcast portion of the open house is going to be closing out coming up in just a little bit. But we are glad to have you with us, whether you're listening on the radio or you're watching on the live stream. But the best thing to do is come out here and be in person.
Come by here, grab something.
Great community taking place out here today, man.
Absolutely.
Have you some lunch and get some great deals at Mathis Trailers and Equipment Sales. We're going to wind down the live stream. Going to send it back to the studio for another timeout. We'll come back and wrap up the radio broadcast. But once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
We'll send it back to the studio.
This has been the WLAQ Community Spotlight. We thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the WLAQ Radio YouTube channel and follow WLAQ Rome on Facebook.